Hey everyone, cricket rockstar Devo Tyrell Ordine here. What if I told you all I've met cricketers, local and foreign, within the last decade or so? But one of the stories I'm going to tell you all is not just about my love for the sport of cricket alone, but later on I'll tell you how one of the times I met a couple of the cricketers from the Trinbago Knight Riders, which actually caused a rift between myself and a staff member from my days at Palmeiras Learning Center. So guys, stay tuned. I started watching the sport just less than a year old, but started playing cricket around the age of 3-4 years old. My grandfather introduced me to the sport. He would always take my brother and I to the Barataria Oval nets every day to train. However, I started taking it very seriously at the age somewhere around 9-10 years of age. That's when I was at Strategic Learning Center. That school, however, that I used to attend alongside my twin brother between 2009 to 2014, sadly didn't have any extracurricular activities. However, the only other activities they would do outside the school is when they have to attend Power Gen sports every year. Something that I always enjoyed to the best. It was always a fantastic time. However, in late 2012, 2013, my mother signed me up for the Harvard Cricket Club. And let me tell you, those days was wonderful times. When she had signed me up for Harvard, she realized that I had a lot of talent and potential. And I knew that for a fact. And up till this day, I still do talk about my times at Harvard. And they were marvelous times. The talent and the potential I had I went on to pursue a career in professional cricket, people would have said that I wouldn't have lasted long. I would have invested a lot of time for myself, but you know how it is. So when she had signed me up for Harvard around late 2012, early 2013, when she had realized how I had talent and potential since when I was small, being a professional cricketer was something I always dreamt of since I was a little kid. I spent about 3 years at Harvard Cricket Club outside of my back-end days at Strategic Learning Center and also my early days at Palmeiras Learning Center. And the reason why I didn't return after the 2015 cricket season was due to preparations for the SCA exams in May of 2016. Plus, I was also aging out as well because I was in my early teenage years and going through puberty as well. During my time at Harvard Cricket Club during the off-season, while I was still attending Strategic, this was around 2013-ish, somewhere there, I had the utmost pleasure of attending the West Indies Players Association, known as WIPA Atlantic Summer Cricket Camp, which happened to have taken place a few blocks away from home at the Barataria Oval in Barataria. Coincidentally, this was around the same time that the inaugural edition of the CPL was happening all across the Caribbean islands. And on the last day of the camp, I met former Trinidad and Tobago and West Indies captain, now commentator in the commentary box, Darren Ganga. And for me, that was one of the highlights out of the camp. I even had the opportunity to ask him a couple of questions, which was really very nice, alongside taking pics with him and myself. The day after the first ever CPL final, which took place at the Queen's Park Oval in Trinidad, I did attend 4 of the matches, by the way. There was an event that took place at the Brian Lara Recreation Ground up in Cantaro, Santa Cruz. That's where Brian Lara and the Bravo brothers are from. In case they don't know, Santa Cruz side, that is northwest Trinidad. So go check it out. It's wonderful there. At that venue where the cricket and football event happened at the Brian Lara Recreation Ground up in Cantaro, I did meet superstars such as the Prince of Port of Spain, the great Brian Charles Lara, the Universe boss Chris Gale, the champion himself DJ Bravo, Dwayne Bravo, as what I'm talking about, and the mystery magician of spinner at the time, Sunil Narayan, who was one of the top bowlers in the international cricket world. Sadly, he didn't have a long international career due to all sorts of drama with his bowling action. But that was fantastic, let me tell you. And speaking of those greats, I mentioned a little while ago, I did attend 4 of the CPL matches that year, including the semi-final in which the Knight Riders, who was known back then as the Trinidad and Tobago Red Steel, they did lose to Guyana Amazon Warriors, who actually went on to lose to the Jamaica Talawars in the final. Sadly, the Talawars aren't there because of all sorts of political shit. But coming back to me personally, 2014 and 2015, I was on the sidelines though. I was supposed to attend CPL matches in 2014. However, due to some severe illness I had in the summer of 2014, I was forced to miss games. I was forced to not attend the games. And in 2015, I was on summer vacation in New York City in the US, which meant I didn't attend any games that year. 2016, however, this was after SCA though, I was actually supposed to attend games, but due to how ticket prices was expensive, I wasn't able to attend. That was the first year though the Trinidad and Tobago franchise had rebranded into TKR, aka the Trinbago Knight Riders. Those were the couple of years I did lose interest in cricket, except for the 2015 World Cup and the 2016 World T20 that happened in both Australia, New Zealand, and in India, all respectively. Other than that, I was literally focused on preparations for the SC exam at Palmeiras, and even after the exam, I did move upstairs into the secondary department, and that is where the turning point was for me in a positive way. I did actually got the chance to form my own team titled Blue Army. The group is still around though, however, we have not seen each other in such a long time nevertheless, but we still do keep in contact via the WhatsApp. But coming back to me though, they even also asked me if I wanted to make a comeback to playing cricket as a part-time hobby, which I fully accepted with open arms. This was thanks to Palmeiras forming a Special Olympics cricket team, which I fully accepted with open arms. And that is the part I'm going to be talking about right now, because when I made a return to being a participant at the Special Olympics after a long layoff, I placed third in the individual skills in both the 2016 and 2017 editions of the National Cricket Games. And as far as the team competition is concerned, now the team competition has always been one of my favorite things because it's all departments, and as a team, that was something I always had liked. Let me tell you about that. That's always the exciting part. As for that was concerned, 2016, we won all of our games. Unfortunately, we placed in second in the cricket team competition due to the fact it was played on a double wicket format. And that's why I'm going to explain for a little bit. That's where two of the batters faced 2 overs, which is 12 deliveries, without any extras before retiring out to give another pair an opportunity to bat. Now, for those of you who don't know single wicket or double wicket, I am going to share a video in the description below, because I was actually watching some old double wicket cricket footage from Pakistan that was happening in the late 90s. That used to be a trend back in the old days. Nevertheless, moving to 2017 edition now, under the leadership of one of my closest friends, Miguel, who actually was the captain of our cricket team in 2017. We failed to win a single match in 2017 correction, and ended up dead last on the table. Also, we did have to play as a combined team that year due to the fact we didn't have a full 11. Same thing occurred in 2018 correction, but on that occasion, we did not field a team. However, a few of us did take part in the individual skills, and in my age group category, in the individual skills, I won a gold medal. The next year in 2019, we did the 2 of them. We actually did the 2, won the individual skills as usual, and we had a full strength team to play the team competition, and that was the classiest part that I have to tell you all. We went up for the individual skills, in which everyone won medals and awards, and I even tied with one of my closest buddies, Malik, who I still speak to up till this day, for the gold medal in that position in our age group category. We even fielded a full strength team, which I just mentioned. And I gotta tell you, in that team competition we played, we won silver, in which we could have won gold, but unfortunately, due to some careless mistakes, we ended up losing by a narrow margin, or as what cricket commentator Ian Smith would say, by the barest of all margins. And after a gap of 2 years, just like with 2016, we were runners-up in the 2019 edition of the team competition, where we lost to NCPD, I think it was, in the final. And after losing the final, which was a close contest, we all had our heads high, because after not taking part in 2018 for the team competition, we all came out guns blazing and did it with style. Even though we did lose the final, nevertheless, we all had our heads filled high as winners, no matter if it was a winning position, losing position, or draw, as what they say, win, lose, or draw. That was the last time we actually fielded a full strength team for team sport cricket, as the 2020, 2021, and 2022 editions, there wasn't any Special Olympics cricket competition in those years due to the COVID-19 pandemic. However, there was the cricket competition in 2023. Sadly, there wasn't any representatives from the Palmeiras team. Around that time in 2022 and 2023, I was saying to myself privately, I wasn't playing any more cricket. However, just a few months before the pandemic, through my older cousin, I had the pleasure of meeting up with Dwayne Bravo once again. And this was actually the first time I was also meeting Akil Hussain, who was so close to making the West Indies senior team at that time. He did make his international debut in 2021 and is still a part of the team in the T20 format. And something I would like to see him coming back into the one-day team soon. But you never know, given how there's so much franchise T20 cricket going around. And that too, I met the two of them at the Queen's Park Cricket Club at the Oval. They were preparing for the 2020 season, which was marked by the COVID-19 pandemic. There was no cricket that took place in 2020 regarding TTCB domestic competition-wise. However, since then, through my cousin, I've caught up with Akil Hussain a couple of times. Most recently was at the 2025 Special Olympics National Cricket Games, where he was actually one of the guests there. And at that time, I was co-hosting the opening ceremony, and he was so surprised to see me co-hosting. And that was one of the highlights. He was so excited to see me fulfilling my dream of being an MC and presenter, which I will get to a little later on. But I want to get to the part in September of 2022, which was 3 years ago, when the Trimbago Knight Riders franchise touched down for 4 home games, 2 at the Queen's Park Oval and 2 at the Brian Lara Cricket Academy in Tarouba. And through my cousin, once again, I had the pleasure of attending the match involving the Knight Riders and the Barbados Royals played at the Oval. And even though the Royals did defeated us by a big margin, before the game, I had the pleasure of meeting the players at the Hyatt Regency Hotel in Port of Spain, where I got the chance to meet current TKR captain Nicholas Puran, who at that time was the West Indies Limited Overs captain. I also had the pleasure of meeting former New Zealand international batter Colin Munro, who I have to say is one of the most humble men inside the camp. And not just that, he even signed my placard in which I mentioned he is one of my favorite overseas players. After the match, I did catch up with Akil Hussain just outside the team bus outside the Oval, and that's where he also signed my placard as well. And just like with Puran and also Monroe, he also took pics with him and I, and it literally lit up my Tuesday night. The next day, I decided to make a stop by Palmeiras Learning Center, one of my stumping grounds, like I would always do a couple of times a week, which has always been one of my hobbies ever since leaving school full-time. I told every single staff member, from the principal, Mrs. Phillips, to the vice principal, Mrs. Kennedy, to the secretary, Ms. Thomas, and most of the teachers, including Ms. Solomon and all of them were so ecstatic and happy about my meetup with the players. But one of the teachers, Ms. Haitola, was extremely upset and mad at me in how I did have the chance to meet the players without her knowing about it. Now, originally, I wanted to keep it confidential. However, when she found out that I did meet the players after attending the game, it led to a rift between she and I. Now, we're good now. We're close friends. I'm actually close friends with all of the staff members. Let me tell you that up front. It led to a rift between she and I, which lasted a few days. And that is where I had to pull off some mystery. Just like how Narayan and Hussain do it for the Knight Riders or West Indies, I had to do some mystery. And that is where I dragged one of my best friends, Josh, who I've known. He and I have been best friends for a long time, since our secondary school days. I had to drag him to fix the situation. And it was resolved on the Friday with ease. We even shake hands and embrace, and she apologized to I, and we even made a deal saying we will no longer keep things in secrecy. That is how I no longer, up till this day, do things in secrecy. It's all about respect and solidarity. And that just goes to everyone I know. It's all about love, friendship, and solidarity. I actually want to get to the hosting part of things because it's a magic time story. Since everyone knew, I was a content creator / YouTuber. The same principal who I mentioned, along with all the other staff members, secretary, etc., said that I should become a full-time MC / presenter with the Palmer's team, etc. And boy, let me tell you, that paid off big time. At 20 years of age, in December of 2022, I hosted the Christmas concert / bazaar at Palmer's. And from since then, I've been hosting events for them ever since. February 2023, I hosted the Carnival Jump Up. Same year, at the age of 21, which I did turn in April of 23, I hosted 4 events, from hosting 2 graduation ceremonies, one for the SA students in June and one for the CSEC students in July, along with the sip and paint in December. And in February 2024, I did hosted the Carnival Jump Up in 2K24. Around that time in 2024, at the age of 22, I did fell rock bottom, along with facing constant rejection from some of the staff members, and at that point, I even thought about giving up my dream completely. That same year, I started getting paid for hosting gigs for the first time, and I even hosted 7 events that year, from the jump up, which I mentioned earlier, to hosting the opening and the closing ceremony of the Special Olympics National Games and the inaugural along with the Caribbean Special Olympics Beach Games respectively. Even hosted the graduation in June and the Christmas concert in December. Let me tell you, in 2025, at the age of 23, I've hosted more events within the last couple of years than I would have been doing. This year, for the first 8 months of 2025, I've hosted 6 events within the first 8 months of the year. And if that wasn't outstanding enough, there's more to come, let me tell you. That's the story of how I went from dreaming of becoming a professional cricketer, which did die with me around in 2015 when I had left Harvard's, to becoming a full-time MC / presenter / commentator. And that's where love is, where the heart is, and bless your hearts. That's the story that I have to share. And with it, I'm going to close my video. I also want to mention too, I did do some courses in broadcasting, both radio and TV / podcasting. And that have me holding my heads high. It has made me a better MC than how I was when I had started. And that's how I have the nickname, the Cricket Rockstar Devo now. I used to have the nickname, the Cricket Starboy, but I go by the nickname, the Cricket Rockstar Devo. So until then, my friends, that's the story. That's the entire story of yours truly, Tyrell Ordine, aka the Cricket Rockstar Devo. So until we meet again, my friends, be good, be cool, stay frosty, and we'll continue. Love you all.